and you can talk more about this. You're literally going to talk to the players today, but they say that Grayson, because of the offense he played in, because he was calling his own plays at the line of scrimmage, he might be more NFL ready. Follow me today than a Mariota, or definitely Petty from Baylor, guys like that.
Kiper's told me multiple times in the last few weeks.
Did I insult your friend?
Huh? No, I'm not. I know him. I know Kiper from covering the NFL before. He believes that Grayson's the third best quarterback in this draft, behind Mariota and Winston, or Winston Mariota, however you order them. So he thinks he could go as high as late second round, early third. And that's a huge jump for Grayson when you consider at the end of the year people are thinking fourth, fifth round back up in camp. But I mean, where he really helped himself, Benjamin, was at the combine, in the room, so to speak, in the interviews and on the board. Grayson really impressed people. And they want that guy they can rely on if their quarterback goes down. And he's in some ways, I would say, he's like a Gary Kubiak type that you could trust.
And you look at Higgins, the wide receiver there. I mean, anytime that you have a player playing at that high of a level, he's one of the best receivers in the United States, if not the number 2 last season behind Cooper. I mean, clearly the quarterback has something to do with that, and Grayson was his quarterback.
I want to get back to something you said about a lot of these evaluators. They only see film. But you have to evaluate a player in so many other ways.
Oh, no question.
So they only go out with one piece. It's like being an attorney, and you're standing in front of the jury box, and you're only giving one piece of evidence to state your case when there needs to be 5 pieces. Character, you know, digging into somebody's past, how he is in the, you know, writing up plays, how he remembers things. I can't imagine that McShay and Kiper and Mayock, they have this type of access.
Gruden does, though, for the quarterbacks.
I think Gruden does, but I think that you're putting your opinion out there without being able to have a full slate of facts in front of you. And I'm not trying to rip these guys, because let's face it, Mel Kiper has turned this into a cottage industry, and good for him. He's made a ton of money. McShay has made a lot of money off of what Kiper's done, and Mayock, and all of these guys. But you're not presenting the full case here, and I think you're fooling a lot of people.
But I will say that, I mean, it's not like Mel Kiper just sits in his basement all day.
Actually, ironically, he does.
No, my point is, he clearly communicates with people in the NFL and people in college. He's got, I'm sure he's got whatever the equivalent to a Rolodex today would be, a cell phone full of numbers, and he's talking to coaches, he's talking to scouts, assistant coaches. He's not just blindly picking dudes because he saw them play well against Alabama.
Do you know when he talks to, generally speaking, when he generally talks to these GMs and executives? About a week before the draft.
But what about the coaches of the college teams?
I'm sure he does. But Casterly said to me that they look at those guys, those experts, they laugh at it. But they do want to talk to them a week before, because they're hoping, let's use John Elway as an example.
That he's given them some tidbit that they can play off.
Did you talk to the GM of this team? Who's he going to take? Then those GMs use guys like Kiper to get information. But they're absolutely not willing to give information unless they want to leak something out there that's false.
Here's fascinating to me that the public loves the opinion of their first-round mocks. After the first-round mock, you have to be pretty much a diehard to really still follow it. But college football is huge, so people love the draft. It's this marriage of these two things. Where an NFL team could benefit, and Bill Polian told me this last year when I talked to him. I had probably a conference call, not like he's a friend. But where they make their money, these evaluators, are the 4th through the 7th round. I mean, if you miss on your first 3 picks, that's on you, kind of. That's you were expected to. Those guys are expected to play well. They're expected to contribute. But 4th through the 7th round, that's where I'd love to have McShay, Kiper, man, because they are watching this crazy amount of film on these random guys that I mean, you've never seen unless you live in that city. Some guy from Alcorn State or Townsend State. I mean, just pick these schools. If CSU Pueblo, for instance, how would who's going to see all of Chris Bonner, their quarterback's film? You live in Pueblo, you know, and McShay knows the guy, the coach. So that's where I think they certainly have an advantage. Is that information is not easily you can't just find that on the web. That's something I think, Benjamin, that really has value.
Let's take a closer look at this, and your point is very well taken. I don't know if this is a question that we can answer sitting up here. If they are so potentially valuable, rounds 4 through 7, How come no NFL team has ever hired them?
No, that's a good point. And Troy's seen it in baseball, the sport he used to cover for many years, that a lot of the people now working in front offices, maybe not as GMs, but assistants and such, were guys who ran websites, were guys who wrote books and followed the game from their mom's basement, as we say, because they were so forward thinking. I mean, you make a good point, but I mean, I hate to say this. Maybe Mel Kiper has been offered a job in the front office. He'd probably take a pay cut.
And I was just going to say that. I would say that's probably the only reason why he'd say, you know what, just not that interested, because he probably makes a ton of money with his blogs and everything else.
Yeah. He made the draft what it is with his argument with Tobin that day when, who the hell is Mel Kiper Jr.? When he just ripped the pick when they were saying they're going to go. He wanted him to take Trent Dilfer. And Kiper made it personal. Like, for whatever reason, he was married to Dilfer. Sure. And he was like, that's why the Colts, and they're never going to win. And then they get Tobin on the camera with Chris Mortensen, and he's like, who in the hell is Mel Kiper? What does he know? And it was just, but that from that moment on, the draft just kind of mushroomed, and it made Kiper relevant.
Right.
Even though neither one, I mean, they both kind of won the argument. Dilfer ended up winning a Super Bowl, and Harbaugh was pretty good for the Colts, so that's why they didn't take Dilfer. But that made the draft like this must-see TV. They televised the combine, for heaven's sake.
Oh my gosh,
bunch of guys running around in shorts. So, but it is, Kiper's credit. And now they created a foe for him. They've created the foe with McShay.
Oh, I was listening to the radio this morning, Mike and Mike, and they had the two of them on.
And they just go at
They were going at it like for real. He's like, you said that Brian Brom was going to be better than Aaron Rodgers. He's like, no, I didn't. And he's like, yeah, you did. And they're like, and Greenberg's like, no, it's going to be a commercial. It's going to be a commercial. Don't touch my